You've probably heard about the Bitcoin craze, since in 2017 it went from less than $1,000 per coin to almost 20,000. Surprisingly, it wasn't the best performing asset of its kind. For instance, Ether went up 10,000% in the same period. In hindsight, calling it a bubble seems obvious, and although its bursting is worth a complete video, today I want to focus on how this cryptocurrency fever led to the ideal scenario for scammers. We'll talk about Bitconnect, a platform which, despite having a somehow similar name to Bitcoin, it was extremely different. In fact, that name may have been an attempt to confuse newcomers, tricking them into thinking those two were related, but no. Bitconnect.co was a website where investors could lend their money and get incredible returns. In order to lend in there, users needed Bitconnect coins, a cryptocurrency that in reality never intended to be revolutionary or unique in any way. Both the platform and the coins were only a cover-up for a Ponzi scheme, and a fairly convenient one, given all the attention, the lack of regulation, and misconceptions surrounding this new environment. There have been more prominent Ponzi schemes, like the Bernie Madoff one, which lasted decades before tumbling. But I think the Bitconnect one deserves attention, not because of the little more than a year that it lasted, but because of how the people behind it managed to take an obvious scam, make a few tweaks here and there, and turn it into a worldwide billion-dollar scheme, and at the same time, making it so difficult to identify and capture them. Let's go to the beginning. In case you don't know what a Ponzi scheme is, here's a brief explanation. It is a scam centered on obtaining money from its victims under the false promise of using it for a business or an investment opportunity. Once having said money, the conman presents it like earnings to other victims, let them be new or old ones. A quick example, a scammer tricks person A into giving him $100. Then the process is repeated with person B, leading to the same result, getting another $100. Now with those $200 in hand, the scammer can meet again with person A and claim that those extra $100 are pure profit from the false investment. Please note how the earnings sound just too good to be true. That alone should be a red flag for a lot of people, but unlike a pyramid scheme which may come up front and suspicious, the Ponzi scheme deceives and tempts people because at first victims actually earn money. When the scammer shows person A how the original investment was doubled, person A is far more likely to trust the scammer and hand a bigger amount, money which then will be used to deceive person B, person C, and so forth. Bitconnect would borrow money supposedly to use it with a trading bot that with some sort of secret algorithm could get an average daily return of 1%. For a lot of people this was a dead giveaway of a scam, but here's where the little tweaks and tricks that I mentioned earlier came into play. First, Bitconnect had a real cryptocurrency behind it, not the best or the most innovative, but a real one indeed. This way, they could present the lending platform as a secondary project. It also should be noted that, thanks to the crypto fever, even while being a mediocre coin, the Bitconnect's coin's price was also soaring. So, the scammers were receiving money from both ends, the lenders and from the coin itself. Then, they only guaranteed up to 0.25% daily returns, and only for their biggest investors. For most victims though, the average was a 1% daily return. But some days it would be lower, even non-existent at times. As for the next point, the platform never revealed the trades which would supposedly get the returns. Yet its advocates insisted on this practice being necessary to keep the secrecy and effectiveness of the trading bot. Also, a decisive point in my opinion was that the technology and cryptocurrency facade confused a lot of newcomers. People with little knowledge on the matter maybe didn't understand what was happening or why it was happening. They only knew prices were soaring fast, and they thought they could be justified because the blockchain sounded like the best invention since the internet. If all this already sounds like a recipe for disaster, hold on because it gets way worse. Bitconnect used an affiliate system which paid promoters for bringing new victims into the platform. Suddenly you could find YouTubers and people on Instagram showing off their earnings, how they were receiving thousands of dollars every month, week, even by the day. This was all the proof naive people needed to fall for the scam. Now, usually a Ponzi scheme collapses either when the people behind it decide to suddenly run away with most of the money they have collected, or when they are not able to bring in more money into the system. In this case, the fraudsters had both scenarios well planned out. However, this Ponzi would collapse because of a third factor, the crypto bubble burst. You see, another bad sign since the beginning was how the lending process, although easy to perform by the user, was quite complicated at the backstage. When wanting to lend money, the users found out that the website wouldn't accept Bitcoin or dollars or any other popular currency, only Bitconnect coins. And in order to get those, the users had to exchange them for Bitcoin at that same site. Once people had handed their Bitcoin, received the corresponding Bitconnect coins, and then lent those coins, the platform would start with the daily payments in dollars. This way, scammers would retain the Bitcoin and the Bitconnect coins, both assets which at the time were soaring, and in turn they gave a few dollars to the lenders. Obviously, the compromise became easier by the day. Let's just imagine, if they had to make daily payments of about $1, and if that precise day Bitcoin had been at an hypothetical price of $2, they would only have needed to sell half a Bitcoin to cover that expense. But as time passed, Bitcoin got to, let's say, $5 per coin. Since the daily dollar payment still was for $1, this time the scammers would have needed just 1/5 of a Bitcoin to make the payment, and so on. Since Bitcoin prices denominated in dollars kept rising for a while, they could pay more and more people with the same coin. As for the Bitconnect coins, they had complete control. You may already know that an asset's price is generally determined by supply and demand. Since people were rushing to lend on the website, and to do so they needed the coin, the demand was as high as you can imagine, thus raising the prices. Now, as for the supply side, they were the people behind it, the main supplier, so they could create or destroy as many coins as they wanted to manipulate the price. If they wanted a higher price, it was as easy as removing coins from circulation. Or, if they just wanted quick money, they could generate and sell new coins. In fact, they did both multiple times. With this mechanism in place, they managed to go from a 20 cents per coin price to an incredible almost $500 per coin price at its highest. Just in case, there was an additional measure in place, which would have made the scheme to last longer. They would lock the user's funds according to the size of their investments. The most you lent, the sooner you could get your money back, motivating users to place even bigger deposits. Now, I try to maintain it simple, but all this explanation was necessary to talk about Bitconnect's demise and the scammer's escape plan. The first signs of an imminent and definitive demise of the platform came just a little after its first year of operation, when the awareness about the website had grown to the point where it had caught the authorities' attention. On January 3, 2018, the Texas State Securities Board issues an emergency cease and desist order against Bitconnect. Said document mentions most of the points we have already covered, but also added how the team behind the platform had stayed anonymous for the whole time. I know that was also a terrible sign, which the investors decided to ignore while blinded by the earnings. The issued order, while only being valid on Texas, did increase the investors' concerns. Nonetheless, it wasn't the biggest threat to the Ponzi. The falling cryptocurrency prices were the decisive factor. By January 2018, the burst of the bubble became evident. The daily payments were becoming more and more difficult to meet by the day, until the scammers decided they didn't want to lose any more money. That, and also maybe they didn't want to risk it being investigated by the authorities. Going back to how everything was planned out, they knew that the price of Bitconnect coins would crash the moment the truth was revealed. That was exactly the reason behind the complicated lending process. They exchanged their soon-to-have-no-value coins for Bitcoin, a somehow harder to track currency, one that could easily be sold anonymously and in cash, and, most importantly, a currency which surely would retain its value even after the end of Bitconnect. On January 17, 2018, the announcement was made. Bitconnect would shut down its lending platform. The Bitconnect coin would still be supported and used to pay back the customers' outstanding loans. This announcement alone was enough to bring down the price of the token as much as 90% in just a few hours, because in reality, the coin had little to no use in the real world. As we saw earlier, the demand was only high due to the lending process. They promised to reimburse one Bitconnect coin for about every 300 lent dollars. But it obviously didn't help at all, since very few people were eager to buy those coins. Exchange them was almost impossible. This set of events took the community by surprise, even to the fraudsters themselves in my opinion. They obviously weren't planning on going anywhere soon, since all this took place just a few days before the launch of another project by them, Bitconnect X. As if we needed more surprises on this roller coaster, there were people who trusted the website and the coin even after the 90% drop. In the mayhem, you could still find people holding to their Bitcoin coins, even buying more of it at less than $1 per coin, because they believed the token's price could still recover, or at least that they could use them to buy a share in the new project. Losses were estimated on the billions. It's hard to know exact numbers due to the secrecy of the whole scheme, but it's safe to assume that at least some people lost thousands, including those YouTubers and social media influencers who were Bitconnect affiliates. And aside from money, they also lost all credibility and became the only public figures to blame. In all fairness, if someone invested on Bitconnect based on the opinion of a random YouTuber which had no financial background whatsoever, I really don't know what they were expecting. But I also understand that among coping with loss and anger, accepting oneself responsibility was hardly an option. There was also no responsibility to be taken by the authorities, since the lack of regulation in this space is the norm. And if we remember how these scammers remained anonymous the whole time, these influencers were all that was left. As soon as the news broke out, they deleted all of their Bitconnect related content. However, and unsurprisingly, they eventually got sued. Months after, in August 2018, Divyesh Darji was arrested. He was thought to be one of the masterminds behind the whole scam, and a promoter of the platform in India. Since then, little has been known. Well, in November 2018, another related scam surfaced online. It consisted of a fake announcement by the Texas State Securities Board, which promised the issue of a refund to the victims in exchange for a $250 fee. As for the YouTubers, some vanished from the web, deleted all of their content and social media profiles. Some others decided to continue their online lives pretending that nothing had happened. By this time, the cryptocurrency fever had vanished, or at least returned to a more dormant state. The big news were fewer, and only time will tell if the cryptocurrencies can catch the world by surprise again. We can only assure that scammers will still be there, trying to trick and deceive naive people, especially in the crypto space where regulation is non-existent. But the most important part of this case is the lesson. If something looks too good to be true, it probably won't end well. And finally, the question of the day. What do you prefer? Stories of failure like this one or the Snapchat one that we previously covered? Or stories of success like the Ferrero and Pixar ones? From which ones do you think we can learn the most? I'll see you in the comments and on the next episode of Financial Titans.